Hey everybody, I am Goose and you're watching On With The Show. And yes, today we're going to talk, you see my California hat on. Today we're going to talk again about the California governorship, California politics. Oh my gosh, this is getting crazier and crazier and crazier because it now seems like we have a new frontrunner. And his name is Xavier Becerra, or Xavier Becerra, however you want to, I don't know how it's said Javier, but it's spelled with an X rather than a J. So I don't know how it all goes. What I do know is that he's become the new front runner, and all of a sudden, I don't know if this is a new curse when you become the Democratic front runner, because all of a sudden he's now mired in new controversy. I'm going to get into this because, and we'll talk more about this as I show the article on the OBS and the video. We'll talk more about it on the other side. But we got to get into this. So let me just switch over to the OBS and we'll get into this. So this is from KTLA 5 in Los Angeles. By the way, I love KTL 5. I know I don't live in Los Angeles. I watch them on YouTube. I love getting their news. I feel like, I can, because of KTLA, I'm able to kind of okay, well, that's what's going on. Oh, that's what the weather's going to be. Okay, great. But here's the headline from KTLA in Los Angeles. Becerra leads California governor race, but awkward interview moment looms. We're going to get into that video in just a minute. New polling released Monday shows former California Attorney General and U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra leading the race for governor by 2 percentage points over conservative commentator Steve Hilton and billionaire Tom Steyer. Perhaps an asterisk is warranted. I find that interesting. The survey was conducted before Tuesday's interview with KTLA, in which Becerra, with cameras rolling, attempted to set ground rules with reporter Annie Rose Ramos, who has interviewed all of the leading candidates in similar fashion. And rather than just get into this, let's go to the video. Let me turn on the sound. Let's start over.
Polling is revealing a new leader in the California governor's race. Former Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra is now on top, but his campaign is receiving some additional scrutiny after an exclusive interview with our KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos, who joins us live from the newsroom with the response to her sit-down with Becerra. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hi, Frank. Good morning. Yeah, our interview with Xavier Becerra aired yesterday morning right here on the KTLA Morning News Show. He was among 6 of the top polling gubernatorial candidates we spoke to, all of them agreeing to meet with us for a roughly 25-minute-long sit-down interview. But this clip going viral and now drawing widespread criticism.
By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
Oh.
I think these questions are fair. It's in order to learn about you as a candidate.
So mine's about the profile.
I don't know how you define profile, but I'd like to begin the interview.
The way I describe profile is you talk about all the things that I've done, things I want to do, and along with some tough questions. But not only tough questions.
All right. So let's pause right here for a minute. So what Xavier Becerra wants, as he says, a profile. He wants a puff piece. He wants an interview that shows how so good he is and what he's done at his job and all these I've sued Trump over and I've won every one of them and I'm the right First of all, I'll get into that on the other side. I don't know why they keep focusing on Trump, but I'll get into that on the other side. But he wants a puff piece. He wants to look at all the great, like he said, look at all the great things I've done. Look at what I'm going to do for California. Oh, and then I'll handle some tough questions. Like he has to throw that in because, I mean, I'll take some tough questions, sure.
5% to overtaking a crowded field
Yeah.
and becoming a Democratic frontrunner, according to recent polls, after former U.S. Representative Eric Swalwell dropped out of the race.
Remember this.
With this interview offering a rare glimpse into what sometimes goes on behind the scenes, garnering attention both nationally and making international headlines.
The favorite for Newsom's job can't even handle a local interview.
By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
The Becerra campaign releasing a statement saying in part, quote, unlike other candidates in the race, Becerra sticks around even when the questions get tough. He's proven over decades in public service that he will always show up, take questions, and defend the right of journalists to do their jobs.
Hey, but it doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like this here. It doesn't sound like he wants to take the tough. He'll take the tough questions after you've interviewed me about my glorious career. Then I'll take the tough questions. I don't know what it is about some of these candidates who are like, for some reason, you want to get into like, you ask them questions and like, well, I'll talk about that later. We need to talk about how I'm such a great candidate for this. So let's keep going forward.
Race reacting to the interview. Steve Hilton posting his KTLA interview saying in part, quote, unlike Xavier Becerra, amazingly enough, I was happy to answer all of Annie Rose's questions without telling her how to do her job. Tom Steyer coming out with this press release saying Becerra is crumbling under pressure, defensive and evasive while answering this question about missing migrant children.
During your time as HHS secretary, a New York Times investigation found the health department couldn't find some 85,000 children it had released.
That's not accurate. What you just read is not accurate. First, that's what I'll say, because it was never the case that we could not find kids. You're essentially, I don't know if you got those talking points from Donald Trump.
It's from a New York Times article.
Mayor Matt Mahan of San Jose, a Democrat also running for governor, reacting. His campaign releasing this video, splicing together the Becerra KTLA interview with a clip from a Katie Porter interview. Another viral exchange from late last year in which she sparred with a local TV reporter and ended the interview.
This did not go well for Becerra. A politician shouldn't begin an interview by complaining about questions that haven't even been asked yet. It makes him look nervous, it makes him look defensive,
Yep.
and that's not a look you want when you're running for governor.
Frank, Jess, ballots have already been sent out to Californians. The primary is on June 2nd. Hard to believe that is just less than 3 weeks away. And only the top 2 vote getters in the primary election then move on to the election come November. Guys?
Annie Rose, just so people are clear about the context of this interview, these kinds of questions are often asked before an interview begins, typically with staff. In this case, you had already indicated to Mr. Becerra that we are rolling, and this happened.
Oh, man.
Right?
Absolutely, Frank. We had multiple discussions with his staff in the days and the weeks leading up to this interview. And then once we sat down, our photographer said, we are rolling. He sort of clapped his hands to indicate that all the cameras were synced up. And as you see, he says, as we get started here, want to make sure this is a profile piece and not a gotcha piece. And as you can see, the clip there that we rolled yesterday is what happened in moments after that. But to your point, yes, those were conversations we had with not only Becerra's staff, but every single of those top 6 candidates that we had interviewed. This was among one of the last interviews we had done, all of them airing here on KTLA on the morning news show, and didn't seem to be an issue for some of the other candidates, all the other candidates, which is why we made the decision to air this portion.
Wow.
I appreciate that context, and I think our viewers do as well. Thank you very much.
So he already knew, his staff already knew what the questions were. They already knew what the questions were. And he's still complaining, still trying to run the interview. He's still trying to run the interview. He's still, and for him to, and the cameras are rolling. You would think that he would know better. Hey, the cameras are rolling. I shouldn't say this. How is this going to look? How is this going to look to the other candidates and my constituents if I'm sitting here trying to dictate the interview? It says, after the exchange, the interview moved on. The topics ranged from affordability to homelessness spending on Becerra's tenure in the Biden administration, which I've heard not a lot of people liked him in the Biden administration. I saw that from an interview on CNN. Still, it was the way the interview began and the perception that Becerra was attempting to control Ramos's approach that grabbed national attention. Here's one. As HHS secretary during COVID, Becerra was rarely the administration's point person in communicating to the American people on the pandemic. This may be the reason why David Axelrod, a former senior advisor to the President Obama, posted on X. Susan Rice, the President Obama's former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, reposted a tweet from journalist John Ralston, who wrote, "I have seen and done a lot of TV interviews, and this is one of the most pathetic things I have ever seen." I mean, it is just... Here's what this candidate for governor shouldn't just expect gotcha questions. They should welcome them and thrive on them. Longtime political analyst David Schnorr told the Times. Jack Pickney, professor of politics at Claremont College, concurred. Didn't go well for Becerra. I think that's who we were sent on there. A politician shouldn't be getting an interview by complaining about questions they haven't even been asked. It makes you look nervous. It makes you look defensive, and that's not a look you want when you're running for governor. So let's talk about this on the other side. I'm going to close out the OBS. Let's talk about this because I'm almost thinking that there's a curse on the Democrats running for California, because every time, let's get into this. Let me just close out the OBS and we'll get into this. So yeah, this is a bad look for Xavier Becerra. I don't know why. You would think for someone who's used to being in front of the camera, who's used to being interviewed by reporters, that he would, this would go a lot better. I'm almost thinking like, and I'm wondering this because, I'm wondering, as I've been looking at the governor race here in California, and I've been watching all this stuff, I'm wondering if the Democrats like almost believe that the press is still on their side and that they're getting a new brand of journalists and reporters who are like, hey, we're not like those people you've dealt with before. We're not going to just hand you softball questions. We want to get down to, and not only that, what's funny is, again, you heard it on there where it's like, she asked him about all the 85,000 migrant children who've gone missing. Well, they've not gone missing. It's like, that sounds like something where'd you get your question from Trump's? No, we got it from the New York Times. I mean, it's just laughable. This guy can't even, I mean, he needs to, it is true. There was a report that 85,000 migrant children have somehow disappeared under his watch as HHS secretary. I don't have the footage here, but I saw something, I don't know if it was on X or YouTube or whatever, but there was a panel talking about Xavier Becerra and his time in the Biden administration and how he wasn't a well-received guy. And if you think about Health and Human Services, they bring up a good point. You would think that when COVID going on, that he would be running point on it, and he's not. So it's just kind of crazy. Now remember when Swalwell left. Now let me go back to, let me make this point before I go back to because at one point Katie Porter was the front runner. Then she does that disastrous interview with CBS News, and her campaign craters. Then Eric Swalwell becomes the front runner for the Democrats. And then it's found out that, oh my gosh, he is now being brought up on SA charges. He drops out. No matter of fact, not only does he drop out, he resigns from Congress. Tom Steyer starts taking the lead. And now, and you see all these ads with Tom Steyer, and he's running, and if you've seen some of the ads, I'm a progressive Democrat running for governor. First of all, I think a lot of Californians are tired of progressive policies. I think they're just tired because they saw what happened in in San Francisco. They've seen what's been going on in Los Angeles. And they're like, you know what? We don't want a governor, who is a progressive that's going to just make our state worse than it already is. All right. And not only that, I don't believe you watch Tom Steyer, I don't believe the dude. I don't believe him at all. I don't believe a billionaire would stand there and say, yes, we have to tax more billionaires. The problem with that idea is the fact that the billionaires in California are trying to find an exit route out of California because they're viewing more and more of their assets as being seized and taken. That's the incredulous thing that's going on, if I get the word out of my mouth, that they don't get it, And I'm sure that Porter and Steyer thought that when Swalwell dropped out, that all of their support was going to go to them. And it didn't. It did exactly what I thought would happen. It went all the way down to Xavier Becerra, who was like 5% at the time, and just lifted him up out of the grave. And he was able to, now he's apparently the Democratic frontrunner. And they even do this poll, the Emerson College poll, where it shows him he's 2 points ahead of Steve Hilton. But they do it before they put this poll out, before this interview happens. And the interview makes him look like I deserve to be just fawned upon. That you shouldn't ask me any tough questions. This is a profile piece, right? And even Annie Ramos is like, Annie Rose Ramos is like, I don't know what a profile piece is. Like I don't do profile pieces. I ask questions and I get answers. It was just interesting to see. The look on her face was like, what in the world are you talking about? Profile piece? And then he has to explain it to the world. You talk about my accomplishments and what I'm going to do for California. And then you can ask me the tough questions. And she's like, that's not what I do. And God bless her. She stuck to her guns and she asked the tough question. And then to get some of the most ludicrous answers when she asked, especially like I said, the 85,000 migrant children who have somehow disappeared somewhere in the United States on his watch, and they don't know where they're at. And he's like, well, that sounds like something you would get out of Trump's press office. And she's like, well, I got it from the New York Times. It makes him look incompetent. And it just seems like throughout this entire gubernatorial race, every Democrat that is like even sniffs the top two does something to, and I believe this is exactly what's going to happen. Because I just got my mail-in ballot. I just got my ballot. Another plane flying over me. I just got my ballot. I'm going to fill it out today, and I'm going to walk it to the elections office. I'm not trusting it to the mailman. I'm not trusting it to the drop box. I'm not trusting it to anybody coming to my door saying, hey, we'll take your ballot for you. Nah, I'm going to walk it to the elections office and I'm going to drop it in the box. Because I think that's the most responsible. I want my vote to count. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to wait for June 2nd. I'm going to fill it out now and I'm going to go. And that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that since early mail-in ballots have already gone out, that you will have filled it out and already turned it in. Not even seeing this interview. I think a lot of candidates are hoping that, again, we're coming down to the stretch and they're hoping that if they fumble and bumble, they're hoping you don't see it before you turn in your ballot. Where you sit there, I shouldn't have voted for this person. Oh my gosh, it's wrong. Oh, I can't believe this. Because that does happen. But I've already made up my mind. Like I said, I told you I was going to vote for one of the top three. As I said right now, Tom Steyer is like third. I'm not voting for Tom Steyer. I can say that right. I can tell you that confidently right now. I'm not voting for Tom Steyer. Because that man is wrong for California. In my opinion, I have to say this. In my opinion, Tom Steyer is not right for California. Excuse me. But if we look at the, so if you shuffle them around, and I still don't know why Katie Porter is stuck around, because she's now down in single digits. People have, that's one of the things they've said about this race. There are too many candidates. There are too many people. Even a friend of mine who's a Republican is like, like Bianco needs to drop out, and he needs to throw his endorsement to Steve Hilton. And I said, well, he's not going to do that because he's hoping that him and Hilton are going to be the top two, and then you have a Republican no matter what running for governor. Do I think that's going to happen? There's a strong possibility. I think after this interview, you're going to see a lot of people going, I don't think I want Xavier Becerra. Not after that. No. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go down to the description and subscribe to the channel. Bang the bell for notifications. Bang the bell for notifications, so you always know when a new podcast is uploaded onto YouTube. Give me a big like on the video, because it does help me with the algorithm, and it tells me that this is the kind of topic you want me to continue to doing in the future. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here at On With The Show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment down below. Let me tell, what do you think about the new interview with Xavier Becerra? Do you think that do you think that his campaign is done, that he's blown it? Do you think he'll survive this? That, he'll survive. Don't worry about it. He'll survive this. Don't worry about it. Or do you think we're going to, with us coming to June 2nd, that we just might have two Republicans running for governor of the state of California? That's a possibility. And it's becoming more and more apparent as we get closer and closer to the primary. But with all of that being said, I am Goose. You are watching On With The Show. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the other side.